Okay. Good evening. Today is February 12th, 2020, and we'll call the East Long Meadow Housing Authority's agenda to order. First on the agenda is the minutes of December 2019. I'll entertain a motion when somebody's ready. I know it can't be Marilyn.
I move to accept.
A second.
Any further discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes, got it. Next on the agenda is the contract for the 705 units.
I'll give you this one because that has to be signed. Thank you.
So you want to talk about it? Or?
Yep, this just came in. The lowest bidder was for $227,466 to do renovation work at two of our 705 houses, which is our family houses. And, one had to be completely gutted, that's probably where most of the work is, of course. And the other one needed the porch to be removed and add in a deck, and then the basement stairs needed to be replaced and basement windows.
Is this a two-family?
No, they're single-family homes.
Are they vacant now?
Yes.
Yeah.
So how much did we pay for them?
This is on a, this is for procurement, so this money comes from the state.
Oh, it's a lot of money to spend on an old house.
Well, it's when you're doing renovations and rehabbing, and especially what Lynn had mentioned, that you almost gotten one of the homes down to probably the bare studs and going to be refurnishing to brand new. So, you know, $227,000. It's great that the money's not coming out of our reserve. This is money that's coming out of the state to rehab, you know, two of the properties. So, it's nice that, you know, they came out, inspected, and saw what the scope of work needed to be done, and then, you know, Lynn going out and procuring bids, and, you know, we got the bid of $227,466, in which, you know, DHCD is fine with that.
Is that why they're not rented? Because they needed, yeah, correct, yeah.
If there's no other further discussion, I'll entertain a motion to accept the contract for the two single-family homes under the 705 program.
Take the motion.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes, got it.
Thank you.
I think you just need to sign it. All right. Next on the agenda is the annual report. So basically, this is a yearly thing that we need to do a report to the town of East Long Meadow, of what we've done per se, and or what we're anticipating to do in the upcoming year. So I had asked Lynn to prepare the annual report on my behalf. And you know, I had reviewed it. I'm fine with it. I'll give every one of you a couple minutes just to read it, if you have any questions. Because we just need to vote on the acceptance of this annual report before it's submitted to the town. I don't know if there's anything else that you want to add to that.
Nope. It's all good.
Who issues the voucher program certificates? Is that the state?
We do.
You do, okay.
Yeah,
Through
we,
the state, yeah.
we
Yep.
got, was it
25.
25
Mhm.
MRVP, the Mass Rental Voucher Program
Mhm.
vouchers, and those are the state vouchers that we administer at the McLaren, the Brownstone.
Yeah,
So
Yeah,
the-
so they're project-based, it's not a voucher that they can take somewhere else, it's only at Brownstone.
got it.
So what happens is they come in and see if they're eligible, Lynn staff will do all the intake processes, see if they're eligible. If they are eligible, then they will get leased up to the Brownstone, and they will pay 30% of their income, and the
Right.
state will pay
The other 10%.
Okay.
Do we need a motion to
Yeah, I just
accept?
need, I need to entertain a motion to accept the annual report.
I move to accept the annual report.
Do I hear a second? Any further discussion? Not hearing any, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Ayes, got it. Thank you, Lynn, on that. Next on the agenda is the year-end certificate.
So every year, the board's gotta sign off on, the federal and state lead paint laws, that we do it according to, the state regulation. And the state came up with a vacancy program, so for years, when you tell them that you have an empty unit and then who moves in, it automatically goes to the lead part and asks if the renovations, if, how old the building is, did you do a lead update, so it gets done automatically, so I'm not too sure why we have to still do this, but we still do this. And then, this form everybody has to sign is just to certify the top 5 people salaries, which I have here. People can look at that, and then the financial statements. So that's that, and here's the salary, so if you can.
Look at her.
And we had to do this for the budget anyways, when
Yeah.
Gary came in, I don't know, were you here in December?
No.
No, when Gary came in and talked about the budget, and then
Yep.
the 5 highest salaries, I guess they want the board to know who they are.
5 highest
5
salary.
highest
Here or-
salaries
Yeah,
here.
Here.
So the salaries came back from a few years back when a housing authority had committed fraudulent things in which
A different housing
a
authority.
different housing authority
In the state.
in the state.
Yeah.
The executive director was not making what he was supposed to be making. I believe at that time he was supposed to be making $160,000, and he was making $360,000. So there was a whole kibosh of things that had happened, and the state and federal government had intervened, and one of the things was at that point in time, former Governor Deval Patrick, with the state, were looking to possibly regionalize the whole state into 6 regions and only have 6 executive directors per se. So with HUD and the state agencies, they got involved. So now this is a yearly requirement that the board knows
Yep.
the top 5 highest paid salaries of employees of each housing authority and everything else. So
Which, that's according how many units they got, right?
Yeah, the salary.
salary, yes. That's okay. person. So, start, yeah, so.
I think there might be one on the back.
Yeah, the back. And basically, you knew what Lynn's salary was because that's what the state and what we approved, last
Yeah,
year.
they're all in the budget.
It's all in the budget, right?
And the budget was approved.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, the budget was
Salaries.
approved just this past week, which is good. That was quicker than I've seen it before in the past.
And what's good is you know, same thing when Gary, well, except for Marilyn wasn't here, when Gary had given us all the backup documentation, you know, you can compare that with what you see there in front of you, which is good too, the checks and balances that we get from Gary, who's, you know, he's the fee account, so he works for us, the commissioners.
Okay.
And, you know, Gary, you know, if there is something that he sees that doesn't look right, you know, he knows his duty is to contact me right away and all that stuff. So that's why budgets and everything has looked good, and you know why we're getting great reviews, being well run.
Thank you.
I thought you got $2,000 raise there. Didn't you get $2,000 raise instead of 85? It's 87 now.
I really don't know what the accumulated one was. I just know it was like $1 an hour. Was the increase.
I mean, that's what I saw on the other thing when Gary was here.
Well, that would be for the upcoming year, the raise. So it's showing for the past year what was the salaries.
I don't see very much.
Yeah, you see a lot.
Don't mess with the man that has his own punch.
Yeah. Next on the agenda is the vacant unit award.
To go with the other document about the 2705 units, there was a difference from what we originally had in the budget to redo the two buildings. They have given me an additional award for the gap. So the total development cost is gonna be $283,000 even. And then this is a letter that they sent out, if anybody wants to look at it, saying that they awarded $194,000 from the DHCD's vacant unit fund to cover the funding gap to rehab 2 vacant units, the 705 developments. The local housing authority has exhausted its formula funds and doesn't have any active unurgent projects that can be postponed. This award supplements $14,000 in compliance reserve funds to cover the asbestos removal cost and $75,000 in formula funding for the total development cost of $283,000. And then the CFA amendment will be sent separately, which they did.
So it's an extra $56,000.
Yeah.
It's even better news.
Yeah, that was a good award. I also applied for a health and safety award, and that just got approved. So again, this is paperwork I just received telling me what they accepted and what they didn't accept, and the total amounts were I can do some interior floors, some tree removal, and there are some stair treads that need to be redone for trip hazards, and also we get water in these breezeways and the doors are all starting to rot and there's holes in them, so to replace those
Wow.
broken doors to help with that with
Yep.
slip and falls. So that was a total of $24,150 for that.
So that's gonna be done at the funds. is
Yep, and I
Good.
have to do that. That was my award that I got. The two things they didn't accept, which I kind of find it weird, is there was a tree that has a lot of acorns and it's right above a sidewalk. And the maintenance men are always out there, like, all the time cleaning the sidewalk, cleaning the sidewalk, cleaning the sidewalk, and they did not accept that one,
Wow,
which I thought was very unusual. And then I told them I had some loose handrails and they didn't accept that one
Wow.
either. Yeah, I thought that was
Wow.
very, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but they gave me 24,000 for the other stuff, so I'm like, I'll take it,
wow.
you know,
Take it.
you know,
Maybe they think the squirrels are gonna take the acorns.
yeah, somewhere, but, so
Good.
that was good.
Yeah, that's great news.
Yeah, 'cause I don't think a lot of people, when they see it, they apply for it, but, you know, I just think it's easy. I always think of
Mm-hmm.
No,
things that are
it's-
around here that,
right.
especially Trip and Falls.
No, especially if they don't apply for it. Hey, you don't apply for it, you don't know if you're gonna get it or
Right.
not, so it
Yeah.
doesn't
Right.
hurt to apply.
And it can't be in your capital plan,
Right.
you know, the big picture. It's gotta be something extra.
So next year we'll try to the other tree with the
Yeah.
acorns and the handrails.
Or if I got money left over in my budget, it's probably gonna come down.
Yeah.
I'm surprised the handrails, I mean, that's safety, especially with
Yeah.
elderly people.
They're probably, if, you know, they're probably just gonna tell me to, you know, fix it
Yeah.
in my budget, which I would be doing anyways. I just
Yeah.
thought if they're gonna give me extra money to
Right.
do it, so I don't have to use the money in my budget, that's where I'm going.
Basically, probably saying preventive maintenance, so you could use that. It's the crazy things that you get. All right. Next is the Formula Funding Award.
Okay, yep, they have formula funding, it must be the end of the year, they're all telling me all this money that's coming in. So they're telling me I have, $223,475 in formula funding for the fiscal year of 2023.
Wow.
So you
So-
don't get it next year, you get it 20.
We'll get it in 22.
You get it in 2 years, right?
Is that a good amount? Is that,
It's a good amount for, I mean, we have a big capital plan, so they give me a little pot of money every year, and
Yeah.
hopefully I can get, you know, the next couple things that are done on my capital plan, which the state puts it in their order of what needs to be
prioritized?
addressed
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have an emergency, so which kinda like sometimes bumps things out, but, again, this is, you know, we never saw this years ago, and we're finally seeing this now that they're helping out to keep the developments going instead of deteriorating, which is really very good.
Well, I think also with, you know, with Governor Baker, you know, he's been signing off and been a big advocate for public housing and everything else. So between him and Lieutenant Governor Polito, they've been investing a lot of money into public housing, which is great. You know, not to talk politics, but I always see that when you have Republicans in charge, you see more funding coming in to public housing, which is great from either party. So,
Yep.
but there's always, for some reason, you always get a little bit more with the Republicans when they come in. So, especially, you know, as my case is, I always say, I don't care if you're an R or a D. I want an H after your name, be a houser and all that stuff, because that's what we're here is, you know, for our residents and put money back into our housing authority. So it's great to see, you know, what both governor and lieutenant governor has been doing it on the public housing side here in the state of Massachusetts, and everything else. You know, now I'm kind of seeing that in Connecticut with our governor. Some, you know, they had a diet budget, but now, you know, Connecticut's starting to
You
invest
gotta
some
go
money
down
back.
Franklin Ave and ask one of those guys down there, they'll take care of it for you.
But
I know Franklin Ave.
You know Franklin
What's
Ave?
Ocado Bakery? My husband goes down there for his bread.
yes, he
Really?
does.
Ah, yeah. Buys it in
I used
bulk.
to sell down there, it was tough corner.
Yeah.
My my competitor was Carando.
Oh, my husband worked for Garandos.
He did.
All right, anything else?
Yep. Got the next thing
Oh, nobody's seen.
on the agenda is the CIP approval letter,
Mhm.
which is, you can see the funding down below. This is gonna be done, hopefully starting after June. We're gonna do window replacements, start window replacing at Quarry Hill, and also the exterior soffit repair and trim painting at Quarry Hill. So that was my little pot of money for this year, and that's where it's gonna be allocated to.
Which is the oldest
The
complex?
village,
Okay,
and it's the best built.
Yep.
Don't ever have problems down there, it's
Really?
great. Yep, yep.
So as you can see, it's basically almost a little bit over $300,000 of funding that we got through the CIP for these two replacements. So, or capital improvements. So it's great to see that money's being used from our
Right.
capital funds to do
Hey.
the necessary work.
I got a
When-
question, Lynn.
Well,
I didn't quite catch the idea that now when you go rent somebody something, it has to go through the state before you do it.
I'm not too sure if I understand what you're saying.
I'm just trying to figure it out. You say you just can't rent to anybody you want?
oh, is that
you
an
mean a
answer to
tenant?
my question about the vouchers for the low income? Is that?
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Do you have to go through the state, or somebody comes in, put an application, and they qualify with their income,
Mhm.
and then you rent it to them? Is it still the same? I thought you said something about the last time.
Oh, the applications just went online. So
Yeah.
what's happening is
You can't come in here and get an application. in other
you
words.
can come in here and still get an application, but everybody goes into one big pool,
Oh, I
one
see.
big bucket. So if I have an opening, I have to get onto that website and maybe the first 10 people on there, and they don't have to be East Long Meadow residents. They could be even from Boston area, from Pittsfield. If they choose to, you can pick the housing authorities you want to apply to, but a lot of people apply to all 240 of them,
Wow.
you know?
240.
Yeah, so they can just click away on whoever they want to apply to.
Yeah.
So, and then you have to, you just have to do it. It's just a lot more work. Because most of the time they don't want to come out this way.
No, the idea would be is like back in the days when Mass Narrow had it with the Section 8 program. It was a one-stop shop. But when you download or when you're ready to call people off the wait list, you can do it by your preference, saying, people only living or working in Springfield, and you would just get all the Springfield
Oh,
people. You want to get the people from Boston and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That would be a great idea. Same thing for the state wait list, that you say you only are looking for the residents of East Long
Right.
Meadow. So, because now what's going to happen is when you're calling all these people
Yeah.
from the 240 different cities and towns, it's going to be a nightmare, because now deny. By the time you get to a local person, it could be a day or so that
Yeah.
you're going through the whole thing, which
Taking months.
months.
Wow.
You would think that the state would come up with that development, but
So an apartment that I would have rented within 3 weeks is now taking me sometimes up to 3 months to rent.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a lot of waste.
Because you gotta go through the.
well, because you're getting people, they come in, they're all excited, and then when they see the drive, wait a minute, I'm from Worcester, coming here.
Yeah.
Well, if you
I don't-
retire, I mean, that's a different story, but some people like to be in their neighborhood,
town,
so they
yeah.
know
Oh, yeah.
people.
Yeah.
But that's why if it was simplified a little bit better,
Has that
almost-
always been the case, or is that new?
No, that's new. That
Yeah.
just started in,
the state wait list is brand new, but the
Yeah.
Section 8 wait list is probably
Oh,
about
yeah.
15 years old.
Yeah.
I know
And then-
because some people live here, they're from Waterbury, they're from all over.
yeah,
Live
which
here?
is fine. I mean, we
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
people that move from Arizona, from Florida,
Mm-hmm.
they wanna come back up this way.
Okay.
But usually they will call the office and get an application if they wanna come to East Long Meadow. What's going on now, because it's online, they get the 240 list, and they'll just click, you know, they'll just go, oh, okay, that sounds
So
good.
they
They'll
only
click.
have to fill out one application,
One
and they
application
can
now.
send it anywhere?
Exactly.
Well, the application.
So why not?
Right,
If
the,
you-
Right.
Yeah,
the
why not?
application is basically a preliminary application, so you're not
Yeah.
asking for income and all that stuff because you're not verifying that information. The only time you start
No wonder.
verifying the information
Yeah.
is once they're chosen off the wait list
Mhm.
and they come in, and that's when you start doing the eligibility.
Yeah.
Or they
So
don't come
that's
in.
why you could have hundreds of thousands of
Wow.
people on
Is
this
this
wait
just for
list.
public housing though?
Yes. Yeah, I don't know about anybody else, I just know
I mean,
about here.
because years
state
ago I
housing.
put my name in the Jewish housing. You know,
Well, wherever you put it in before, they didn't have the centralized wait list. Now this is called the centralized wait list that just
but
started.
What I'm trying to say is, I got a call this year. She says, "You still need it?" I says, "Well," I said, "How much more?" That was like 3 years ago, okay. And so she says, "Oh, you got at least another 2 years before you get in here."
Well, a lot of housing authorities, when they had their own wait list, other than
Yeah.
a centralized wait list, when you had your own wait list,
This is
just
this past year. I got this
Yeah.
Right,
call.
so
She says, "What are
you-
you planning on doing?" I
you
says,
have housing authorities that you exhaust a lot of money when you try to update
Yeah.
your yearly purges and all that
Yeah.
stuff. And same thing, depending on the size. That's why one of the things is a lot of housing authorities in Connecticut, they do lotteries. So you could have
Ah,
you could have 5,000 people that
Yeah.
apply. But
Yeah.
you say you're doing a lottery process and you're only taking like 400
Right.
names, especially when you get these smaller mid-sized housing authorities that basically are housing the elderly and disabled.
Mhm.
People, the only way that they're probably you get a vacancy is when, God forbid, when they
Yeah.
pass away or end up
Right.
going into a nursing home.
Right.
Otherwise, the vacancies are a dime a dozen that you have somebody leaving here.
Yeah.
So you could have people on the wait list, 4,
For
5,
years.
6 years, and they're
Yeah.
calling up. I filled out an application 5 years ago. Sorry, ma'am. Sorry, sir. We don't have no vacancies. Not like you have 50, 60 vacancies per year that you can do the turnover on the wait list. I think when we see the vacancy here, we're lucky if maybe you get 10 a year per se.
It's funny because I worked with a gentleman, elderly gentleman in town, and helped him, brought him here, filled out an application, and he lived in town for over 40 years, and he was a veteran Marine. And he was called, I would say, within a month. And he decided, oh, I don't own it, I gotta pay rent, I'm not paying rent. And he bought a condo. But it
Yeah.
was,
But
Because
depends-
he was a veteran, the
Yeah.
veterans get
So
priority, he was a
the-
veteran and a
he was
resident.
and he was a
Right,
Because
so-
of
resident.
those two.
Yeah.
he
So
went to the
housing,
top,
each
so-
housing authority has their own priorities and preference and all
Yeah.
that stuff. So you get these extra points per
Yeah.
se. So if a veteran gets an extra point, so that
Yeah.
a veteran will go jump. I
Right.
don't want to use the word jump, but
Mhm.
moves up the wait list because it gets
It-
those extra points.
Yeah.
So if you or I both put our names
Mhm.
today, and you're a veteran, I'm not.
Right, I would have priority.
You're gonna have
Yeah.
priority over me.
Right, which is nice, really. How long did it take you to get in here?
I had the application in for a couple of years.
Did you?
And then I ended up coming in here. I was a Bluebird Estate with my wife because everything was a handicap accessible there.
Mhm.
And it was okay, I didn't care, but then I couldn't handle it anymore there, so I had to put it in a nursing home. So I started going back to, actually I didn't put any applications anywhere, my daughter put them in for me. So I came in here and I said, I went to Hamden and I went here.
Mhm.
And she says, as soon as I get one, I came in here and I put the application, they looked up my application. The other girl couldn't find it. What was her name, the other girl you had there before?
Barbara?
Not Barbara,
Jen?
the other girl. The one that, I think she works for the fire department now, I don't know.
Oh, Carrie?
Yeah, Carrie, she said, I can't find his application, so Lynn went in there and she found my application. And so, I guess she made me, told me how much I make and all that. And the next thing I know, she says, by the way, today you're here, go see an apartment, see if, you know, it's okay with you. And
But that's not the case now, you're saying? Now you have to pull from the state?
Well, now, before the housing authority had its own wait list, you used to have manage your own wait list, and
Right.
now the state has mandated you to go through a
Wow.
state wait list, so now they manage it, because before, housing authorities could have finagled the wait list and moved,
Yeah.
there was housing authorities.
well, I came here and the next thing I know, I get calls, and boy, this is great.
So, that's
Yeah.
why now everything is just through the database, it's managed by the state, so there's no.
So there's no preference for residents and?
There is.
There is, so
There
when you,
is.
yeah, so when Lynn puts in the preference and all that stuff, it'll pick up those
Okay.
points, but the problem is,
She's gotta go through though.
right now,
Yeah.
if you got an individual that put in for all the 242
Yeah.
housing authorities,
Yeah.
that's,
And that they're emergency.
and of course, people, they never lie when they fill out those applications, everything is an emergency, so,
Yeah.
cause it's not verified at that point in time.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it ends up taking the housing authority a few more extra steps,
Mhm.
and that's why
Mm.
it takes so long
Wow.
to end up leasing
Yeah.
or getting somebody off that wait list and qualified now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I had like 200 people on
On your own.
my list,
Yeah.
and now since it went online, I think there's 2,000.
Holy moly.
Yeah, on the list.
Wow.
2,000 applicants that picked East Long Meadow.
Wow. Wow.
So.
And who knows if those 2,000
Were
are,
really interested or just
Correct.
clicked, yeah.
they just
Yeah,
click.
but it's time consuming for her.
Exactly, because
Yeah.
I've probably gone through hundreds
Yeah.
of applicants that they just,
Yeah.
you know, they
Put
either
the
don't
application in.
respond and, right, it's a lot of time, a lot of
Yeah.
paperwork, a lot of envelopes and stamps and everything else, because when I pull a list, say I pull like 20 people, I have to send them all out the documentation they have to fill out
Yeah.
and turn back in 10 days.
So
If
you
they
have
don't turn it back in 10 days, I then have to pull another 20 and do the
Yeah.
same thing, and I
Wow.
have to send that, whatever I pull, I have to send it out that
Some of
day.
those people already got a
Wow.
place, or they
Yeah.
just put it in ahead of time.
Wow.
And
Well, a
you
lot of
just
them
keep
put,
going
like
and
you
going and
said,
going.
a lot of people will go and put it in from different places. Before it was on the wait list, they would go to different housing authorities to put it, so if they
Right.
did get housed in, like in East Lang Meadow,
Mhm.
they would never gone to like the Chicopee or
Right.
Hamden and say, please remove my name
Of
off the
course
wait
not,
list.
yeah.
And all that stuff, so
Yeah.
it's,
I went to Hamden because I lived there for 52 years, so.
Wow. Yeah.
so it's,
Yeah.
so that's what it is. Is there anything else?
Well, the last thing I
Oh.
have,
Oops.
or actually I got two more things. This last thing I have, I need you to sign. This is the new CIP contract, since they gave you the more money.
Mhm.
An amended amount is 445,875. So all those other amounts that we talked about before, this is like an accumulated thing.
Mhm.
But every year we have to sign a contract
Yep.
with them that they will give us this money.
I won't refuse that.
And that's it. We are good.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Opposed? Ayes got it.